Do you know the one polite question that can turn a normal traffic stop into a full search of your car? If you answer it the wrong way, you can hand over your rights in seconds. And once you do, a judge may say you gave permission all on your own. Hit subscribe right now because what I'm about to show you could keep your car, your phone, and your freedom out of the wrong hands. And tap like so you can find this again fast when your heart is pounding on the side of the road. Here's the reality. A lot of drivers think a search starts when an officer says, "Step out of the car." That's not usually where it starts. It starts way earlier with a calm voice and a fake casual question. Like, "You don't mind if I take a quick look, right?" That is the consent search trick nobody talks about. It sounds small, it sounds friendly, it sounds like you have nothing to worry about. But that one moment can decide everything. In this video, you're going to learn the exact sentence that blocks the shortcut. You're going to learn the follow-up question that tells you whether the stop is actually over. You're going to learn the mistake people make when they keep talking after saying no. And you're going to hear the court cases that back this up in plain English, not law school English. I've analyzed over 200 body cam videos, and the same pattern shows up again and again. Now let's talk about why this matters to you. A normal traffic stop is supposed to be simple. The officer gets your license, runs your info, writes a ticket or warning, and then you leave. That's the basic mission. But many stops drift into something bigger because drivers keep chatting. They keep explaining and then say yes to a search just to look cooperative. Most people have no idea that the officer may be waiting for that one little yes. Here's the trick they don't want you knowing. Consent searches are powerful because they let police skip a huge fight in court. If you agree, they may not need a warrant. They may not need a strong reason first. And later, when you say you felt pressured, the video may just show you smiling and saying, "Sure, go ahead." That is why you need a script before you ever need it. When your body is full of stress, you will not rise to the moment. You will fall to your training. The first thing you need to do is refuse the search clearly and calmly, not rude, not loud, not shaky. Clear. This is your base move. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. In Schneckloth versus Bustamante, the court said consent can count if it looks voluntary under the whole situation, even if the person was not told they could refuse. In plain English, that means if you sound like you agreed. The court may treat it like real permission. That is why your words matter so much. Here's exactly what you say. "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." Word for word. Memorize that line. Say it in a normal voice. Don't add jokes. Don't explain. Don't say, "I mean, if you want to, I guess." Don't say, "I have nothing to hide," but that second part kills you. The clean line is the strong line. Let me show you exactly why this works. Your job is not to physically stop anything. Your job is to make the record clear. If the officer searches anyway, your refusal can still matter later because it shows you never gave permission. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court. They want the body cam to capture a clean no. That can be the difference between a judge seeing a voluntary search and a judge seeing an officer acting on some other claim. Bad way. Most drivers say, "I mean, I guess that's fine," or "I don't care, go ahead." Then the search becomes your idea on paper, even when it wasn't. Good way. Smart drivers say, "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." Then the officer has to rely on some other legal reason, not your permission. Watch what happens when you don't use this line. The officer asks in a soft tone. You want the stop over. You think saying yes makes you look innocent. The officer opens a bag, finds something your friend left there, and now you're standing on the curb, trying to explain ownership while your own words are playing back on camera. The search started because you tried to be nice. That happens more than people think. Now watch what happens when you do use it. You stay calm. You keep your hands visible. You say your line once, maybe twice if needed. If the officer has no real reason to search, that refusal can shut down the easiest path into your car. If the officer claims another reason anyway, your refusal still protects the record. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection. And yes, this is 100% legal. You are allowed to refuse consent. Refusing is not a crime. One more thing. If the officer says, "If you have nothing to hide, why not let me search?" Do not argue. That question is a trap. Innocent people still get hurt by searches. Messy cars get misread. Old items get mistaken. Other people's stuff gets found. Your answer stays the same. "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." Short, calm, done. Still watching? Good. Drop a like if this is already changing how you think about traffic stops. And tell me in the comments if you've ever been asked to. Just take a quick look. The second tactic is to pin down whether the stop is still happening or whether you are free to go. This matters because a lot of consent requests come right after the officer hands back your license and acts like the stop is over. That moment feels casual, it feels friendly. But your body still feels pressure. You still see lights behind you. You still feel like you can't leave. That confusion is the whole game. Here's exactly what you say. Am I free to leave? Those 5 words are gold. If you want a second version, use this. Is the traffic stop over? Keep it plain. Keep it polite. Ask after the ticket or a warning is handled. Or the second the officer shifts into random questions about drugs, cash, or weapons. Let me show you exactly what this question does. It forces the moment into the open. Here's the reality. If the stop is done, you want that said out loud. If the stop is not done, then the officer is still detaining you, which means the law puts limits on how long that can last and why. In Rodriguez v. United States, the Supreme Court said police cannot stretch a traffic stop longer just for extra investigation, like a dog sniff, unless they have a real reason tied to crime. In plain English, once the traffic job is done, they can't keep you there just to go fishing. Bad way. Most drivers say, sure, what else do you need? Then the stop quietly turns into an investigation, and more questions keep coming. Good way. Smart drivers say, am I free to leave? Then the officer has to show whether this is still a real detention or just a voluntary chat. This is 100% legal. You are not being disrespectful. You are asking the cleanest question in the whole encounter. If the officer says yes, leave calmly. Do not hang around. Do not keep chatting. Do not reopen the door by saying, okay, but why did you ask? Just leave. If the officer says no, you now know you are still being held, and that matters. Listen closely because this is critical. Some officers do not need to say, you are free to go, before asking for consent. That's part of why this trick works so well. In a case called Ohio versus Robinette, the Supreme Court rejected a rule that would have forced police to always say magic words. In plain English, you should not wait for the officer to clear things up for you. You ask. You make the moment clear yourself. Former police officers have confirmed this works, because it changes the tone of the stop. Instead of floating along in confusion, you draw a line. The stop is either over or it is not. That alone can stop a lot of pressure tactics. And if the officer keeps asking personal questions after the traffic business is done, your repeated question matters. Am I free to leave? If yes, go. If no, stop talking beyond basic identification rules in your area. Watch what happens when drivers miss this. They get their license back and feel relieved. Then the officer leans in with, hey, before you go, you don't have any drugs or guns in the car, right? That sounds harmless. But it is often the bridge into consent. The driver answers, laughs, keeps chatting, and gets pulled deeper into the stop. One question from you can block that slide. The third tactic is the one almost nobody uses well. After you refuse the search and ask if you are free to leave, you stop filling the silence. Your mouth is what they work on next. Once consent fails, conversation becomes the tool. The more you talk, the more the officer may try to build a reason to keep digging. Maybe you sound nervous. Maybe your story changes. Maybe you mention a bag, a friend, or cash. Tiny details become big problems fast. Here's exactly what you say. I'm not answering questions without a lawyer. If you want an even softer version, say this. I choose to remain silent. Word for word. Memorize one of them. Pick the one you can say under stress. This is not about being dramatic. It is about stopping the flow of information that can be twisted against you later. Bad way. Most drivers say, I'm just coming from my cousin's place and that bag isn't mine. Then the officer hears nerves, changing details, and fresh reasons to dig. Good way. Smart drivers say, I choose to remain silent, or I'm not answering questions without a lawyer. Then the officer gets less material to use against them. Here's why this matters so much. Police do not need you to confess to create trouble. They just need enough loose details. To say your behavior looked suspicious, that phrase means they claim they had a reason to think crime was happening. And once that claim starts building, your simple traffic stop can get longer, harder, and riskier. Your silence cuts off that supply line. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court, because a quiet client is much easier to defend than a chatty one. Now, I'm not telling you to refuse basics. If your state requires your license, registration, or proof of insurance, you hand those over. If you are told to step out under a lawful order, you do it safely. But extra questions are different. Where are you headed? Who owns that backpack? Why are you nervous? Mind opening the trunk? That is where silence protects you. Here's the reality. Your body may want to talk, because silence feels awkward. You may think talking makes you seem honest. But honest people talk themselves into trouble every single day. I've analyzed over 200 videos. The driver says no to the search. Great. Then the officer keeps talking. 10 seconds later, the driver starts explaining everything. That explanation becomes the new reason to keep pushing. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings and long years of real defense work. Your rights mean very little if you accidentally talk your way around them. Legal experts agree, silence is strong. Say less, say it calmly, then stop. That silence is not weakness, it is discipline. 90% of drivers don't know what comes next. If you're still here, you're serious about rights. Drop a comment saying I'm still here. because this next move is where people save themselves. The fourth tactic is what you do if you already gave a bad answer. Maybe you panicked. Maybe you said, "Sure, I guess." Maybe you opened the door because you thought you had no choice. You are not done. You can still revoke consent. That means you take back the permission you just gave. If the officer already has another lawful reason, they may keep going. But if it was just permission, it matters. Here's exactly what you say. "I'm withdrawing my consent. I do not consent to any searches." Say both parts together, clear and calm. If you only say, "I changed my mind," that is weaker. Use the real line. Memorize it now. If you gave permission by opening a bag, stop immediately. Bad way. Most drivers say, "Well, okay, just be quick." After feeling pressured, then the search expands. Good way. Smart drivers say, "I'm withdrawing my consent. I do not consent to any searches." Then they stop assisting and make the record clear. This matters because of Florida v. Chimeno. The court said a general yes can include containers if they might hold the thing the officer wants. In plain English, if you say yes to a car search, that yes may spread to bags and containers. That is why your first no is best. But if you missed it, revoke consent clearly, and do not physically interfere. That part is huge. You do not grab doors or items. You just use your words. "I'm withdrawing my consent. I do not consent to any searches." Then stay still. Former police officers have confirmed this works best when you stay calm and stop helping. Your goal is not to win the argument on the roadside. Your goal is to protect your record. Let's tie the law together. Schneckloth vis Bustamante tells you why your words matter. If your yes looks voluntary, a court may treat it like valid consent. You must say no clearly. Rodriguez vis United States tells you why time matters. Once the traffic mission is done, police cannot stay. That means your question matters. Am I free to leave? Then Florida v. Chimeno warns of the broad yes. Your no must be strong, and your revocation must be strong too. Ohio verse. Robinette is a reminder. Do not wait for police to tell you the stop is over. You ask and make it clear yourself. Now let's walk through a real-life scenario. You're driving home at night. Lights flash behind you. You pull over. The officer says you rolled through a stop sign. You hand over your license. The officer hands back your license and asks, "You don't have anything illegal in the car, do you?" Most drivers go the wrong way. They laugh. They say, "No, of course not." Then the officer says, "You mind if I take a quick look?" The driver says, "Yeah, sure." Bad way. Most drivers say, "I've got nothing to hide." Then the officer searches and finds something. Now here's the right way. The officer asks about anything illegal. You do not explain. You ask, "Am I free to leave?" If the answer is yes, you leave. If the answer is no, stay silent. If they ask to search, you say, "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." Then stop talking.